Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Today, Tommy is my guest, and we're talking all about how he got started. He started as a pizza pop-up, stumbled into his first location, not knowing anything about the pizza business or the restaurant industry, and now he's looking to get started in another location, and we talk all about that process, how he learned how to make pizza, what mistakes he made, what he wished he would have done differently, what he's looking to do now with his newest locations, and what's the growth plan for his pizza business. I think this is going to be a great episode, whether you're already established in the pizza space or you're looking to start your own business or a pop-up or something like that. It's going to be great for you. Learn about leases and all of that interesting stuff that goes along with operating and owning a pizza shop. Let's get right into it. Enough from me. Here's the podcast. All right, Tommy, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you doing this. I'm excited to talk to you. So tell everybody at home who's listening or watching on YouTube a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Well, my name's Tommy. I'm owner of LaSorted's Pizza in Los Angeles. I feel like the story has evolved a little bit. You know, I maybe people have heard, or I feel like a broken record of the pandemic-born pizzeria. Porch pizzeria turned into a brick and mortar, and now we have our second full realized vision of what I was trying to create. We're coming up on a year of our second location, and things are happening. You know?
I love that. So you started as a pop-up, right? Like selling pizza out of your house, and then you kind of like a lot of people did in 2020. And then how big is your first physical location?
Just under 1,200 square feet. It's actually, we were basically just looking for a commissary because I had built my truck. I was using a 12-inch propane uni, and it just wasn't enough. And then I got two 12-inch unis, and that just wasn't enough. And so I started to, all these other chefs were starting to buy these ovens. And I kind of said, I could go to that same guy, or I could go find something different to stand out from the crowd. So I built a 66 Ford Econoline with a wood fire oven on it. Yellow.
The yellow truck?
The yellow truck.
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah. So I put an extra fridge in my kitchen to store dough and all my stuff, and then that wasn't enough. So my sister, brother-in-law, and I got this basically what was a catering kitchen. And yeah, so that's our first brick and mortar.
Was it meant to be a restaurant or like a pizzeria where people can come in, or was it meant to just be like, all right, we're gonna make the pizza here, but people can't come in here?
It wasn't meant to be a retail. I mean, it was a dream. Maybe we'll do retail someday, but also I wasn't ready to. I mean, I say I wasn't ready to commit to pizza after I built the whole truck, but it was still kind of like, what's going to happen? But I just had this crazy realization the other day, actually, because we're looking at other spots right now for potentially location 3 or 4, and I realized I just walked into this kitchen and didn't change a thing. I didn't change the floors. I didn't change this. And the guy who had been there before us was there for, I think, almost 40 years, to the point where when we lifted the mats off of the ground, it was pulling up the floor tile.
Wow.
There's this old Charleston freezer that had rusted bottom on it. We didn't really know what we were doing. And I look at where we're at now in Silver Lake. That was our first spot. And it's like, there's just some things that are so inefficient, and it's because it wasn't built to be a serviceable restaurant, and it's,
yeah.
I mean, there's literally, our walk-in is in between the front door and the kitchen. There is a 3.5-foot walkway that's about 10 feet long, and that's how we get from the front to the back. It's so horrible, but we make it work.
You know what? I mean, did you have any pizza industry experience or restaurant experience before that?
I worked in and out. I did catering, but never any any sort of like real practical experience when it comes to, starting a restaurant.
Or like the flow of it, right? Like when you own a pizza shop, if you work in a pizza shop, I've talked to so many people that have started your way, and you think you know what you want it to look like or feel like, but then you get into it and you're like, this is not what I wanted it to be, just flow wise.
I had no idea what I wanted. I had no idea what to do, and I'm still learning. It's even with our second one, I like stood in the space and I went, wait a minute, did I just do this again? Like I just I rebuilt it, but it seems so small. And I don't know, I don't remember who it was who told me, to like, dude, this is like a resort. Have you like looked in kitchens in New York? Like
Yeah.
they make do with a lot less than what you have here. So
how many square feet is it?
The second location is also right around 1,200 square feet, but it's funky little spot. It's got like the back wall legitimately is at like a 30-degree angle. So you lose it just gets smaller and smaller and smaller
as you go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just in New York recently, and some of those kitchens that they have there are tiny.
Yeah. But it's funny. That's what I realized though, is like in our Chinatown location, the way things are set up, we can get more done with 2 people than I can with 5 people in the other kitchen.
Huh. Is that just because everything's so spread out?
Everything's so spread out, and it's like, I'm learning, and just, you have to take these, when you see it, you can't unsee it. And now it's just like, okay, how do I fix it? How much is it going to cost? How much time am I going to be down? Is this worth fixing?
Right.
That's where I'm at right now.
I have been doing a lot of research on like pizza shops and profitable pizza shops, right? Because there's a ton of pizza shops out there, but a lot of people complain about not making any money anymore. And they've, maybe they started their pizza shop 20 or 30 years ago, and it's drastically changed the business in the last 20 or 30 years. So I'm doing a lot of research on profitable pizza shops and what kind of pizza shops are the most profitable. And I'm really realizing like the ones that are like, it's going to sound crazy, 700 to 1,200 square feet, like that's it. That just sell pizza and maybe some side items and a salad here or there. Like if you can get away with doing that, and you can have a lower rent and get into the business without a ton of capital, like those are the most profitable pizza shops.
And I don't think I've ever like spoke about it publicly but like, we were looking at a place. I had just moved to Pasadena, and like I lived in Silver Lake for 15 years, and it was one of those, it was a joke, I moved 20 minutes away, and then I'm not exaggerating, it was like a week later, days later, we got the call, and it was like, there's a space in Silver Lake available, and I went, Jesus, but it was also, then they told me where it was, and it's like, I knew, like, it's the epicenter of Silver Lake, it's kind of like a row of restaurants that are, it's one of like 3 places in LA that like has some of the best food in Los Angeles, and we got it for $2,400 a month.
That's
like
crazy.
On Sunset Boulevard, like at Silver Lake Boulevard, and then we only paid $25,000, and we got to inherit all this equipment as well. The only stuff we kept was, of course, the walk-in fridge, the freezer, and a bunch of catering stuff, which we ended up just like putting in the parking lot for free. But still, it gave us, having a walk-in, going from having a consumer fridge to stack dough bins in to having a walk-in was just like the Ritz-Carlton,
And this is your second location?
This is my first location. And then the second location, though, I've always believed in like just going out and just putting the energy into the world of like, I'm ready. I felt myself outgrowing the current situation. And it wasn't satisfying. It was that it was like, I had so much more in my head to put on the walls, put on the plate, and like give people this experience that I really wanted to give them. And I was just going anywhere that was, I wanted to go. I was watching restaurants, kind of to your point, like in LA, make it and like really succeed. And it's almost, you kind of had to bet on an area that maybe wasn't popping off,
Yes.
And so I was going to different neighborhoods that I knew very well, and that I thought were close enough in proximity to have the potential to be something big. And it's hard to find any places like that. And especially post-COVID, all these landlords took out these absurd loans and bought all these crazy properties. And so everything in LA is like, can I curse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. For like a piece of shit coffee shop, like you could charge upwards of $15,000 for 1,100 square feet. And it's like, why would you do that to yourself?
You're 100% right.
I'm very lucky, that these places, well, this is the Chinatown place I went, and I was looking at the old Pok Pok in Chinatown. I've always loved Chinatown, grew up in LA, have very fond memories of going before or after Dodger games. And I went to look at this Pok Pok space. It was 2 stories. The kitchen is 3,000 square feet. I think for the whole thing, the bottom restaurant and then the second floor kind of bar lounge, they wanted like, $18,000. And it was just like, again, it was just getting out there and like letting the world know I wanted something. And I ended up talking to the owner of the building, one of the owners of the building, for like 2.5 hours, and just telling him what I was doing, who I was. And he said, I've got a spot that isn't on the market yet. It's been one tenant for, 50 plus years, and they're retiring, and no, they're not going to, their kids don't want to take it. So I would like to show it to you. And I'm like, okay. And we're walking down. And I always try to explain this to people, like physically taking them to the location and showing them that like I didn't understand where I was walking, So I was walking down, and I like come around this bus stop, and it's just like, boom, there's Dodger Stadium. And then he goes, and this is it. Like,
that's crazy.
Right. And I went, are you fucking kidding me? And what happens next is wild, because I'm pretty, I don't know. I'm pretty, what do you call it? Sorry, the coffee hasn't kicked in yet. I'm pretty impulsive. Like I'll do pretty crazy stuff like on the spot. And it was, I just said, okay, I'm in, like, I'll take it. And not knowing anything about building a restaurant, not knowing anything about raising money, but I just knew like this was it. Like it was the way it happened, where it was, like, and what my vision, like big vision, was for the pizza, the brand. And then I just like, I got together the money, personal money, and I just like, I put down the deposit on my own. No key money, which is
wow. For anybody listening at home too, like this, the reason that I say wow is because your pizzeria is a Dodger themed pizzeria, like that. You're a huge fan of the Dodgers, right? And like all the decor and everything is that related. That's why when you walked around the corner and you saw Dodger Stadium, you're like, that's why you're like, wow, it's meant to be.
Yeah, and it's but also it's like on the next deeper level of like what this brand is, people think I'm gaslighting them when I say this, because when you see the pizzeria, when you see either one of them, and it's just like Dodger ephemera. But like the first one is Dodger Pizza memorabilia.
Okay.
And then this one was like, I'm a photographer, and I've traveled the world, the United States, but specifically in the United States, like traveling and being able to go see the Dodgers play in all these other cities. And like when you go to these other cities, there's always these bars or restaurants that have been around the ballpark for 60 plus years, you know. And the Dodgers, like, we have some spots, you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's like they're not the same as New York. They're not the same as Chicago, Milwaukee, Detroit. Like, there's these places. We have our old school, you know, institutions of LA, but none of it's aligned. And any of the places that were aligned with the Dodgers have all come and gone. And so, and in my opinion, a lot of the Dodger places are what I consider to be somewhat like pandering just to Dodger fans, you know,
Right.
like put a bunch of Dodger photos that mean nothing on the wall. Yeah, it's been like, I don't know. I pulled together the money, and then I was sharing the other space with my sister. She ran a bakery on the weekends in the morning. So when I say outgrew, it's like, you know, we were literally back to back with her, and it was just like I was growing so fast, and I was like, maybe it's just time for me to leave, you know. And
how many pizzas were you selling a day out of that spot before, like,
well,
on an average day?
God, I wish I could tell you the exact number. It was like we were doing, yeah, I mean, under 100, you know, like,
yeah, that's still a good amount.
Probably like 60 to 80, but we were only doing like, I think it was Wednesday through Sunday. Or I started off doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And
Okay.
I did Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then by the time I got to 7 days a week, that's when I was like, you know, it's too much. Like, and again, I had no idea what I was doing. I was doing I was doing scheduling. Like, my wife was doing payroll. It was like, it just was like, I can't believe this is still standing, you know? But like, I signed the lease. I got together the money. I signed the lease the day that LeBron broke the scoring title, because I went to that game, and it was like, I think it was 2 weeks later, my sister told me she was gonna be closing and moving to Texas. So then it was like, shit, like, okay, so now I have two places, you know,
that you're fully responsible for.
That I'm fully responsible for. And it was like, well, you know.
What was the rent in the second place? Because the rent in the first place isn't that much. That's pretty good rent, especially for LA.
Well, yeah, and again, I didn't no key money. It was just the first class deposit, you know, type of deal. But I got it for $4,500.
Even that's not bad.
It's great. And like,
I mean, for LA, it's fantastic. I've been seeing places because I've been looking, right? So I've been looking at places, and like, if you can get into a place that's like 1,200 square feet for under 6 or 7 a month, like, that's phenomenal.
Of course. Well, and that's what, and Chinatown was, I like, you know, I wish I could say I completely thought about this before I signed the lease, but like, once I signed the lease, I kind of sat in it for a minute, and I was already thinking to myself, this was literally meant to be. And then I looked around, I'm like, oh wait, there is no pizzeria in Chinatown, which how rare is it to find in Los Angeles, any little neighborhood? And every single person I told I was going to Chinatown asked me, like, did you sign the lease, or like, stay out of Chinatown? You know, everything goes there to die type of thing. And I've been working in events in Chinatown, like doing my photo work, and there was just a different energy down there. Our shop, even specifically, like, you step down 2 stairs into the shop, and it's like there's a bus stop right there. So you got the buses going by, you know, you're subterranean. It's kind of like, it feels very East Coast, you know, that you don't get in LA. I don't know. And I was like, this is it. Like, and it's been someone not coming from a pizza background, but very quickly through the community of pizza people, like, seeing how important, and like reflecting on my life of like how much time very like good quality memories I had in my lifetime of like post sports games, you know, big family gatherings,
Right.
you know, like what pizzerias mean to a community. That was like the next level of me. Like, okay, how do I not this isn't, and this is like again to the gaslighting of like, this isn't all about the Dodgers, you know. It is, to me, it's about what the Dodgers or sporting events. What I realized during COVID is like how much we take these things for granted as entertainment and from our day-to-day lives, like what it does. And when you go to a sporting event, you don't need to talk about who's in office, who's doing what. Like for just a few hours, we all are fans together of a team, and like we come together to root and, you know, get a win. And that's the parallels of like a pizzeria. You know, you come in, and that's what's been really cool for me, to sit in a space and watch people, like 3 generations, sit down and with my Dodger stuff on the wall. It's like, oh, that's my guy. Do you know who that is? And then someone my age is like, you know, sees like my Global Guts medal. I wasn't on the show, Stolen Valor. But it's like, you know what that is? And then the kid sees the Mookie Betts bobblehead, and like somehow they all have something in common, you know. And
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts, I'm from Boston, so we traded Mookie Betts to you guys for nothing, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
We didn't want that. Our owners are too cheap to sign him, so. But you guys have a good team now out there, which is fun. Back to like the second pizza shop. I mean, that must be nerve-wracking, right? Because now you have 2 pizza shops. You have to find staff for 2 pizza shops, and then make sure that, you know, both stores can sustain the business to operate when you not really have a background in pizza or the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it was just even getting to that point is insane. There's so many moments along the way where, I mean, people tell you it's going to take a long time.
Did it take a long time to open?
It took 18 months.
Holy shit!
It could have probably took a year. You know, I just classic, you know, delusional Tommy. I was like, I'll be open by October, you know.
Yeah.
And because I got it in, I think it was February or March, and so I was like, I'll be ready to go for postseason, and it was not the case. And then by the time
city, or was that you doing things to it, or the city doing like permitting and stuff?
It was definitely a combo, you know. Like once I like started getting contractors in there, and it was like, oh, I need how much? And it was like,
yeah, right.
I need to get how much money? And then it was, you know, I was used to like bootstrapping anything I've ever done by myself. I've had help from some friends for sure, but I've always just reinvested in myself or whatever I'm doing, you know. And this just, so like in one of the meetings there, like the contractor's like, okay, like what kind of handles do you want on the door? And I went, Jesus Christ, like that's too much. Like I just want to make pizza. I have a vision, you know. But it's in the end, it was like the last 6 months were some dumb city. I don't want to say political, but kind of just, you know, it was about our beer and wine license stuff that it took an additional 6 months that should have taken maybe 60 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But it was like, even then it sucked. But I mean, our grand opening was the day the Dodgers beat the Padres in the playoffs. And then it was like, hold on for dear life. And our schedule was, we're open for Dodger games in the playoff. And then they won the World Series.
That's great.
So it was great, but it was also like, you know, I have to say, I don't think it's talked about enough, but it's like, it's very interesting to be a part of this, like this new world of pizza in Los Angeles, of people who started. When you look at these lists now, you know, like how many people started as pop-ups, specifically as COVID. It's like, I think it gave people an opportunity to feel a part of something. And so you have these like customers that they don't feel like underdogs, but it's that I believe in like word of mouth marketing, advertising. Like it's like a lost art, you know, with social media and whatnot.
Right.
Like I think the true organic, you know, if you do it right, you can watch people do it in front of your face, right? Like you see someone come back with new friends every time, and like they want to be a part of this. And I think COVID gave a lot of people an opportunity to let people feel in on something special, you know? And that's like same thing. Like people were just in the other night, like just by chance, like 3 separate groups that came and watched almost every game of the postseason. You know, they were there for Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam, that they were there for when they won. And it's like that my place will forever be a part of their lives. You know?
They're always gonna remember that.
Yeah. So that it's somehow like even with Chinatown, it's like it opened it was sucked. It really sucked. I remember, I think it was like a month before, I remember just being like, people said that the last hurdle is the hardest, you know? And I sat in my shop with a friend, we were having a beer, and I was like, we weren't having a beer. No, we were having a beer. But I kind of just sat there and I'm like, I have to be willing to accept that this might not even happen. You know,
It was like that.
It was so crazy. Like we installed the Pizza Master, and then the health department came and they were like, do you have an electrical permit for this? And I don't know if I should talk about this publicly, but you know, but we had to literally, to get inspected by the city, like uninstall the oven.
Yeah,
should I talk about this?
I mean, we can cut it out if you talk about it and then you would think about it after and you don't want to talk about it, we can cut it out.
I mean, the city's not watching this, but it's, you know, it's like we had to uninstall the oven. I put furniture pads on it. I put all of my chairs in front of it in the corner, installed a 2-deck electric slice type oven, and got the electric signed off for that. You know, reinstall the Pizza Master, and then have health department come and show them that like we had a permit for the pizza oven.
That's
electric
crazy.
Pizza. And it was just like, that was the finish line. And it was like, that was the moment where I really had to come to terms with, okay, if the health department comes right now and says, this is not what it's supposed to be, then it's going to open up a can of worms that I actually will not be able to bounce back from. And I might just have to walk away.
That's crazy. Were you paying rent this whole time, like the 18 months too?
No, I mean, most of it, yeah, but we had abated rent. We paid a lower rent, but those
Till you open?
No, it was I think it was for 6 months, 8 months. And that's when it started to get like fucking real. You know?
Yeah, because when you're paying rent, you have no revenue coming in. That's when you're like, damn, I don't know how long can you do that?
And that I was at the end officially, and it was like I could just see the run the Dodgers were going on. I'm like, I just have to make it. And then, you know, I tell people it's like it was magical, but like it was so magical that I didn't have time to forecast or think about the ginormous cliff that was about to fall. I was about to fall off of, because, you know, like we had so much great press, but it was like, will people remember us? And like we didn't have time to do anything, like proper systems, scheduling. And so like once it was over, I mean, I was very tired 2 days after, and I was sitting in there like, oh shit, like we're gonna be like dead. And then it was pretty dark there. Same thing. It was like
So
You
after
just
the
gotta
season was
like,
over, so you're very much a seasonal place. Like when the Dodgers are there, you're doing good, and then when they're not, you're just kind of dead town.
well, I mean, that this is just our first off-season sample. I'm very confident now with like things I have planned and the place that I built. It's not just a Dodger pizzeria. It is
Right.
that neighborhood. That's I had to make this. So like whether it's the stuff we did during the fires, whether it's just having little league teams come, sponsoring teams, like doing those little things that make you a part of the community, not just a place, a bar to watch a Dodger game.
Well, you almost have like the Dodgers is like a luxury, right? Because when they're there, it's automatic business. But you need to run the business like they're not there, so that way you can sustain it. Because there's a long off season too.
Of course.
Which most businesses go through. I think that's the fear
Yeah.
most businesses have is like, yeah, I'm going to invest all this money, pay the rent, build out my spot. Like, is anybody even going to come?
It's again, like the first place. I think about these things all the time. It's like I'm proud. I am proud of myself, like for putting my head down and believing in myself and just fucking working my ass off. And like I really believe that like most people would have quit at so many points, and I think a lot of people in restaurants that succeed, you got to keep pushing. You got to believe that what you're doing is, but at the same time, you got to know when to call it. But it's like,
Yeah.
But I'm always thinking of, okay, like I'm a problem solver, as we all are, in this business. And I try to be 2, 3, 8 steps ahead of like what could go wrong, what probably will go wrong, and how to navigate through that. But the first space to this space, it's like, I don't know, we're like, it was mine. And now it's like, it's a weird feeling when it becomes bigger than you.
Yeah.
And now this thing has legs now. And it's like, how do you just keep it all together?
I think you'll get better at it as you go too, because every step so far for you in the pizza part of it has been new, right? Like you started a pop-up, that was new. You bought this catering space, which turned into a pizza shop, that's new. You bought a new lease specifically for a pizza shop, that was new. So like now the next step, the next one you do, you can kind of fall back on all of that experience and be like, all right, I know what doorknobs I want on it. Like that's the question they're going to ask me. I know what the city's going to need for electrical. I've been through that experience before, so it's all good experience for your future endeavors. What you said is 100% true though. Like you got to make it there though, because you can have all the experience in the world, but if you quit and you don't make it, it's like, all right, that was wasted experience.
Yeah, I mean I touched on it earlier, but that's like I really just thought about it last week about how funny, and it's just like I can't believe I just walked into this kitchen and didn't change a thing and just tried to open. You know what I mean? It's like it's just when I go into places now like that I've been looking at, it's just like, okay, I need this needs to go here, this needs to go here. And so now, I'm already looking at stuff differently. Now what I'm working on now is systems, and how do I like start turning these little knobs that like get you 0.3% here, 0.4% here, 1%. And it's like, oh, that's like a 2% problem, like if I dial that in, then we're making money, and what's not working, what is working, how do we change it? And like breaking these habits that I have, that my staff has, like that's where I'm at right now. And
something we didn't touch on, which I think is very important, which we didn't talk about in this podcast, is like your pizza looks good too, though. So you got to have a good product.
True. I'm incredibly proud of our pizza.
Where did you learn how to make pizza?
I learned to make pizza. My uncle had a wood fire oven, so for family stuff. I didn't really learn how to make pizza, but then I went, my whole thing was like right before COVID, my wife had bought me the uni as a Christmas Hanukkah present. And I don't know. I loved it. And then I was watching YouTube videos. And then like right before COVID shut down, I went up to Forno, Piombo, hosted Anthony Falco.
Oh yeah. I think he's doing that again this year.
He is. Tony just hit me up to go up there and help. So I'm like, it's a nice full circle thing with that experience, because there was like, I didn't know how to properly stretch. I was just doing what I seen. But to have like hands-on experience, even though it was like, it was a day, you get to make pizza. But I went up there, and this is like my biggest thing is like, there's little moments that you have to like really take advantage of, or not take it, like really, really enjoy moments. And I stretched the pizza. I never used a metal peel. He showed us how to use it, and then how to launch the pizza. And if you didn't want to launch it, he would launch it for you. And I launched it perfectly. And he's like, damn, that was really good. Like, have you done this before? And how, you could take it as like someone blowing smoke up your ass, but
right.
I chose to think that I was like, man, I did do a good job. And I was proud of myself too. And there's just little moments that you have with people that make you feel like you're doing something right, or doing something good. And those are like little milestones that, help build your character in this business, and that was, I came back from that like, damn, I actually do make great pizza. I was reading books like Mark Vetri's book was my favorite, like learning how to make my dough. That was my number one book for figuring out what kind of pizza I wanted to make. And so my dough started off as more of a Neapolitan-ish,
Yeah, it doesn't look like that now though. So you probably adjusted it over time, right?
Yeah, well, once I like got the space, I was like, okay, if people are taking my pizza in boxes, I'm not sending out Neapolitan dough.
Yeah,
like,
that's tough.
Like, it's just flop-tastic stuff. And so how can I make a crust that just holds, and I had no idea again what I was doing. But my brother-in-law is an amazing sourdough baker.
Okay.
And my sister is an unbelievable pastry chef. And so I went to them, and I'm like, do not tell me what to do. Just, I want to like really learn. I don't want to just like not know what I'm doing. I want to really,
you don't want to have them give you a recipe and not know how to, like, the why behind the recipe.
Yeah. So I just kind of went down a list of flours of like, what does this do? Why is it different? I like, to the point of like, what's high gluten, literally,
Yeah.
And like looking at what other people use. And then it was like, what are like little notes of how can I make myself stand out a little bit, and that's, it was some good time spent alone in our new kitchen and just tinkering. And that's where we're at now. And like, it's evolved even like in the past 2 weeks, I'm constantly looking and trying to figure out new ways to scale it. And I've, become good friends with other people in the business that I've learned, like Andy from Andy's Pizza.
Yeah, good dude.
Amazing dude.
I had him on the podcast like 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Dude, he's like, talk about like how to make money. It's like we were on the Stanislaus tour, and he was just showing me a conveyor oven, like his conveyor, stone deck conveyor oven. He had won, he won at Vegas. He was doing all these different things that I had just in the moment, truthfully, like looked at what I had done in the past 4 years, and I was like, okay, this is great, but I'm not making any money. So like, I need to figure it out now. Like this is fun and I love it, but like
Right.
I need to make a living. And it was like, you could still be an artisan pizza maker making really great fucking pizza. But there's like, so I bought a dough baller, like that.
Yep.
Bought a dough baller does not matter. I'm sorry. Like, like it just, I'm sure it does for some people's dough, but for my dough, it doesn't.
You mean, doesn't matter,
like,
meaning like it doesn't matter for the artist part of the dough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard for people to hear that, but it's like, then other people come knocking at your door, like, how's it going?
Like, yeah, but I think there's different kinds of people in this business, right? There's those purists who are like very pure about the art, which is fine. But then there's also people who are like, I want to have a really good pizza, but I got to make it be profitable. It's got to run like a business. And like, that's where I am. Like, I want to make a really good pizza, but I'm not here to donate pizzas to everybody for the rest of my life. I think there's got to be some profit in it at the end of the day to live. Right. So I'm with you on that. Like, I don't care about dough baller.
No. And it's also, it's so funny. Like I try to think of like little things that you just have these moments along the way where the purveyors, the Cisco's, the whatever, they come in and go, oh, you got to try this cheese. I see you're paying a pound for grande. Like, try this cheese. It's incredibly comparable. And you're like, nope, like, not doing it. Like it's a side-by-side comparison. It does not compete. You do a taste test of the cheap tomatoes versus the marginally different price, like, and that's like the backbone of LaSorted's is it's nothing crazy pizza wise. It's approachable.
Yeah.
Like it's like very it's the recognizable pizza you've had your whole life, but I happen to use what I consider to be the best products available to me on the market, and I do not compromise on that ever. So, and it's like, as a not pizza person coming into pizza, there was a pizzeria right across the street from my shop that's now closed. And it had been there forever. And it was one of those places, everyone who lived in the neighborhood, it was like a joke. It was like, has anyone ever ate there? Like and I was like, I don't want to talk shit on another business that I've actually never tried. So I was using Stanislaus tomatoes. I was using grande cheese, or Belgioso, I think, was like mixing between the two, like when I first started, whatever I could get my hands on. And it was like, I went and tried the pizza, and that's when I knew I was making good pizza. Like you could start to taste, you can literally taste what the corners people are cutting.
Yes. I mean, you can definitely tell when bad, like, especially for, you and, a little bit me. You eat pizza so much, and I've eaten at so many different pizza places. Like, I can tell, but the average person probably won't. If the cheese is similar, right? Grande and that cheese they brought in, it's like, for you can kind of tell the difference. Like, the average consumer is not going to be able to tell the difference.
No, that's, I mean, that's that little thing you have to fight. And I've worked with people who've worked in the business a long time, especially when I do festival stuff, Yeah. It's like, I learned the hard way, I like took like an $8,000 loss at this festival one time. That was like, it was dark, and these people don't care like, but it can plant a seed in your brain of like, once you start doing that, it doesn't matter. Let's just use that cheese. These
it can bring you down a dark road of like, I've seen businesses do that a lot where, especially businesses, who does that a lot? Businesses who are like struggling. Like, you've been open for a little bit, you're not making any money. And instead of like, all right, why am I not making any money? Let me look at my books. Let me look at the payroll. No, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I can just save $50 on sending someone home early, or I can save $100 on using this lesser cheese. But then before you know it, you just start going down this hill, and before you realize you did something wrong, it's like too late. You're now, everybody has this perception of your business is like, it's not that good, and it's gone downhill, and you can't. That's harder to fix than figuring out why I'm not profitable if I do make a good product.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's so many tools now that allow you. It's hard, to be in the moment, but it's like I had, and now I just had a daughter. We had a daughter 2 weeks before we opened Chinatown, so it's been like a wild year.
Congratulations.
Thank you, buddy. It has been such a wild year where I've always valued my time more than anything.
Right.
And now it's like you don't get this time back. So I'm trying to, like I was going to say, there's so many tools that allow you to immediately understand what people experience are. Like I tell my managers, like, you guys, I'm not like spying on you, but like I can look on the Toast dashboard and with 4 stats understand exactly what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Like I know if we're understaffed. I know if we're I don't know if somebody's being too slow. Because I have real time like people responding to their orders, like with the Ovation app thing, it's like you can really have your nose in it and not be there, and it's like it's you have to be able to. I try not to react. That's react once and then tweak that mistake or fix that system. And I'm still learning. I could say I'm horrible at it to a point, but I keep my head in it and I just keep pushing.
Yeah, as long as you get better.
Yeah,
you got to recognize it. If you recognize it and you're working on fixing it or getting better or improving every day, that's business. Just trying to get better, a little bit better every single day. You're not going to get drastically better, but just try to get a little better. They stack those.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Where can last question for you, because I know we're kind of low on time here. Piece of advice, like you've been kind of started through the whole process. You've pop up to semi-restaurant to full-blown pizzeria now. Like, what's one piece of advice you give somebody who's maybe started where you are? Like, what would you look out for if you could go back in 2020, Tommy? Hey, do this way.
My biggest thing is like be yourself. I think it's the hardest. It sounds so corny and cheesy, but it's like I think to navigate and really to succeed, you have to pizza, right? It's all, but my pizza is different than your pizza. Right. And I think it's okay to be influenced by, but like it still has to be your pizza, and it has to be your brand. I think it's very easy to just follow the lead these days, but you have to like see what people are doing. How can you make what about you what can you do that makes that yours, and approach it from that angle. That you need to stick out from the crowd. Like there's more pizzerias in cities, per capita. I feel like it is the number one. Is it like the number one type of? It's got to be one of the, aside from smash burgers.
Those are I definitely think pizza's like the most popular food, like all across the board for every genre of people, every demographic. Like pizza is what everybody is familiar with.
Yeah, and I think you just got to make it yours, and there's
a lot of shitty pizza out there too, though. So like, if you have a good product, like you kind of stand out that way.
100%, there is, yeah.
Like everybody talks to me about New York pizza, and like I went to New York last week, and like there's a lot of shitty pizza in New York City.
There is. I mean, I've been talking about this recently too. It's like being born and raised in Los Angeles. It's like I think I figured it out. Like, because we've all grown up with these New York pizzerias, right? New York pizzerias,
right?
But I don't think any of these people were pizza makers, coming to LA to open a pizza shop. They were New Yorkers who said, "Oh, I could just make New York pizza," and like, so we really got shitty pizza. Like looking back on like the pizza I've ate in my life, it's like none of it was really great. And now as is a lot of the world, we're being exposed to like so many amazing things and techniques. And, you know, now it's evolved to this point of like, and a lot of these older places are not adapting, and they're, you know, it's hard to compete with people like these unbelievable, you know, bakers making this unbelievable bread, you know, and that's where we're at now. Is, you know, you gotta, it's competitive more than ever now. Like you've got to bring your A game now.
Definitely.
Which, like, and I'm a psychotic competitor, so like truly nuts. And I'm in it. Like I'm ready to go for it. So
I love it. So LaSorted's on Instagram if you want to go check you guys out there. Website, same thing, LaSorted's.com.
LaSorted's.com.
Yeah, we'll link all that up in the show notes for this episode of the podcast. But Tommy, don't go anywhere yet. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was fun talking to you and hearing your story.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks to Tommy for joining me on the podcast. Thanks to you for watching. If you want to get a hold of them or anything that we talked about on the show, link in the description below this video. If you want some help from Slice, you're interested in what their family membership is, or looking at their register POS system, or you want to get some custom boxes or help with the phones, amazing product. Slice.com is a place to go for that. Also, if you want to get a hold of me, my link is in the description below this video. iTunes, leave a review. Much appreciated. Spotify, say hello in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next week, everybody.